Good morning. Good morning. It should be, you will see this, the earliest is the first Monday of 2022. Happy New Year. All right. So we spent all this time last week talking about the mindset for escape velocity. And on Sunday, we talked about do the good you were doing last year, this year. And if the spirit leads you, you can do more. But we return to escape velocity because now that we've got some basic concepts down, now we need to talk about practicalities. I will attempt to keep these videos as short as they were last year, but because there are practicalities, there will be some videos like the one about make money to exist that I'll have to break, that will be a little bit longer because I have to break down concepts a little bit more. We'll get to make money to exist because there's at least two things you have to do first. Escape velocity, practicalities. Well, first of all, where are you going? And have you made sure that it's safe for you? And tomorrow we will deal with, are you safe for where you're going? The reverse is also true, plus resources. Okay, so we're going to go through all this trouble. We have recognized that the circle around us, we have to make some kind of movement. It may not be that we have to physically leave, although it might, but we know that we have to make a change. The circle that we're running with, possibly the place that we live, the relationship that we're in are no longer serving us, and we need to move on. Okay, where are you going and are you sure it's safe? I have two words for you. I'll give you, let me get out of the fireworks here. Vetting and research. Research and vetting. Okay, I'll give you an example. My main exercise is walking. And I have become fit enough to get into neighborhoods that are on the hills roughly around where I live. And I am well enough in terms of being able to walk that I have been able to go into neighborhoods I normally would not have been able to go into. So something that's important for me is to know the demographics of where I'm going. If you are Black in America, it serves you to do this. Now, as a Black woman, it's not as likely you would think for me to be buzzed by the police in a particular neighborhood for just walking through. However, this has happened to me already. It's only happened once in like 18 years of walking, but it does happen. But it does help that I can say I'm your neighbor from, 9, 10 blocks away, and I am. I've walked that far. It's just that far uphill, y'all. I mean, San Francisco is famous for its hills, but a little bit of research and vetting is important, even for walking through somewhere that takes between 20 to 30 minutes to walk through, 40 minutes to walk through. So if I was going to move to any of these neighborhoods, that's a real conversation about money. But before I moved in, given that I've already been buzzed by the police, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more work. A couple things to look at if you were going to move to a different area. You might want to look at the demographics about crime and what kind of crime. High-end areas have crime too. Just because you move out of the hood, here's the deal: human beings are criminals. It does not matter where you go, you're going to be with human beings. You kind of want to know what's common. If there's a pattern of things happening of different races. Now, there are Black people living in these neighborhoods quietly that I've been to. It's always a pleasant surprise to meet them, but they're there. But some neighborhoods really don't want any more. So you have to know that. You need to know the history of some of the places you move to. What's the crime rate and what kinds of crimes are committed there? That's important. You might want to check your sex offenders registry if you were going to move to a place like that as well. Find out. There are a lot of things that you need to know. Find out, okay, so here's the other thing. What kind of activities are common there? Is it a very quiet neighborhood? Are you going to have problems at the cookout because this is just a neighborhood that's not used to that kind of activity? Interesting thing about walking is that I found out one of the places that I walk that they come down into my neighborhood to do things like hang out because there's nothing up there. It is literally a bedroom. Buena Vista is basically a bedroom community. And the further you go around the hill, add another $500,000 to the property values of the house. So you can imagine that these folks are very serious about maintaining the impression that they have and maintaining their property values. So Generally speaking, when Black people move in, property values go down for everybody. It is the legacy of racism. So all that work, research, so you can vet an entire neighborhood takes place. Well, even if you're not planning to move, you're planning to escape velocity, move from a different place in your life to another place. Be sure that where you think you're going to go is safe. Now, let me deal with individuals that you may meet. We have just discussed the death of a beautiful young lady whose work online allowed her access to a different circle, but she was using a dating app. I believe it was Bumble. And Bumble is supposed to be safer for women, and we don't know the details. So we don't necessarily know if this has anything to do with it. But there are people who are kind of shouting an alarm. Tony Gaskins, who is a relationship coach, married, 13 years, 100% faithful, raising his family, 37-year-old Black millionaire whose money does not come from YouTube, who knows about Black femicide and is teaching women things to help them avoid it. He would tell you a lot about vetting. And he says about this that dating apps in general are not a safe way for a person to proceed, because men who are on dating apps are men that are not willing to be examined in the way they would be in real life. When you go on a dating app, you have what they filled into the profile. You remember I talked about the sex offenders registry, background checks. You don't have enough information to do that. Now, someone you may meet may not want to give you that much information either, but that's a red flag by itself. You're not in an environment where it is accepted that someone may give you limited information. You don't, on a dating app, that's how that is, especially low end. Now, if you pay for one, that's a slightly different situation because you presume that the platform does some vetting, but you have to vet the platform before you pay for it. So that's another step. The point is, somebody needs to, if you're going to be getting into any kind of close relationship with anybody, well, guess what? I will tell you a personal fear of mine. Okay, technical difficulties. The computer must have felt my ego go, no, don't tell them about your personal failures. Protect your image. No, we're not going to do that. Personal failure of mine. The best man in a weak circle is still too weak, because that circle of his is going to have more influence over him than you will coming in new. The man I loved the most was the best man of a weak circle. And compared to his circle, he looked like a gem. And that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Remember, you go into a circle. Is the circle strong enough to be safe? If it's not, then he's not going to be either, because people choose circles they can be comfortable in. Now, there was no way for me at 20, let's see, his birthday was December 31st. He was 49 when I met him. He's 59 now. So there was no way for me at 31, because there was nobody to tell me at 31 that what I would have needed to do was to look at the results that his whole circle was getting in the place of marriage. And these are all church folks. Had I known that at 31, I could have saved myself a great deal of heartbreak. So I had to experience and just watch. And I had to watch how he made excuses for the men who were stinking up the joint until they got bad enough to blow up the whole thing. And then COVID came and killed the rest of it off. But I was not there. I had exited that circle because I recognized it was not safe for me. It was not the right place for me to be. But if I had known in advance to look at the results of the men around him, I would have been able to spare myself that heartbreak. I would have missed a lot of things. Some things you do have to live through and learn, though. And I don't regret that, because that means I can come and tell you. The people that you deal with have a circle. The circle needs to be vetted. And so this goes to whether you are moving on in your job, your career, whether you're moving on in your relationships, whether you're moving on in your friendships. It's not just that that person needs to be vetted. So there's things you can do, background checks, sex offender registry checks, but you need to check the kind of neighborhood they live in to get a sense of what they're used to. What does that neighborhood think is cool? What are this person's expectations of life based on the personality? And what are their results in life? All those things go into vetting and research. And when you are working with different people, you're looking at the circle around those people because you want to get into a healthy and safe circle. So it's very important that you do that. Now, in this video, I've mentioned some things that you can do. I'm going to say it again. If you're moving into a new location, check the demographics of the neighborhood. Make sure to figure out crime, who the crime is done to, what the general activities are, and what the general expectations are of people who live there. Do they have associations? Are there neighborhood associations of different kinds? Maybe go to a few meetings and see what the reaction is. What will be their expectations of you? And understand, if you are Black integrating a new neighborhood, people who know about property value are already going to be a little bit resistant, just because, again, too many Black people move in, property value goes down, white flight commences. We don't like it. It is reality. So make sure, if you're moving to a new location, if you're moving to a new circle of people, you need to vet those people, vet the people that you connect with, vet the results of the person that you're dealing with and the whole circle. Do not make connections on a long-term basis with people who you cannot get basic information. And if it so happens to be a romantic relationship, background check, background check, background check, period. And again, of course, I don't use dating apps. The Spirit of God keeps saying no, no, no. So I'm going with that for right now. But understand the information you get from a dating app is limited. So at least use a dating app where they do some vetting and research and vetting to make sure that the circle you're heading to is safe enough for you to be there. Now, the next video, we have to talk about different kinds of resources because let's say you find a healthy circle. Are you safe for the circle? This is what we don't want to talk about, but we will on the next practicality part of our Escape Velocity series. Again, Happy New Year. We're going to stay in our New Year's mood. I kind of like this lighting. We're going to stay in our New Year's mood for this part of the series to help you get the year off to a joyful and yet practical start. All right. You have a good day now. Bye. Thank you for watching. And again, thank you to all my new subscribers. Goodbye. Oh, and thank you to my old subscribers also. Don't think I take you for granted. You could be anywhere else. All of you, thank you for watching.